The massive alien ships appeared without warning on a quiet Tuesday morning. They emerged from hyperspace like dark clouds blocking out the sun, their metal hulls reflecting Earth's sunlight in strange patterns. There were 12 ships in total, each one bigger than the largest human aircraft carrier. Commander Dax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Fist, watching the blue planet through the main viewing screen. His four-fingered hand tapped steadily on the arm of his command chair. This was supposed to be an easy conquest, just another primitive world to add to the Empire's growing collection. "Send the standard greeting," he ordered, his scaled skin shifting colors from deep blue to a confident purple. "Let's see how quickly they surrender." The communication officer, a junior-ranked alien named Krill, pressed several buttons on his console. "Message sent, Commander," broadcasting on all Earth frequencies. In the United Defense Force headquarters beneath Mount Cheyenne, alarms blared as the alien message came through. Captain Mark Thompson rushed into the command center, still adjusting his uniform. He had been expecting this day for years, but it still felt surreal. "What's their message?" he asked, taking his position at the main command station. A young lieutenant played the transmission. A deep, rumbling voice filled the room. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Empire's Third Fleet. Your planet has been chosen for integration into our empire. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Resist, and we will be forced to unleash forces beyond your comprehension." Captain Thompson straightened his back and took a deep breath. He had trained for this moment countless times in simulations. "Open a channel," he said calmly. "Let's talk to them." The massive screen at the front of the command center flickered to life, showing Commander Dax's imposing figure. The alien commander was tall, with scale-like skin that shifted between different shades of blue and purple. His eyes were large and golden, with vertical pupils that narrowed as he studied the humans. "This is Captain Mark Thompson of Earth's United Defense Force," Thompson said, keeping his voice steady. "We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations, but we do not respond well to threats." Commander Dax's scales flickered with amusement. "Captain, you misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. We have studied your world. You have no weapons that can harm our ships, no defenses that can stop us. Surrender now, or we will unleash the beast." Thompson raised an eyebrow. "The beast? Do not play innocent," Dax growled. "Our intelligence reports show your civilization has powerful creatures under your control. But we have our own weapons, creatures that would make your beasts cower in fear." In the background, Thompson could hear barking coming from somewhere in the alien ship. His eyes widened slightly, but he maintained his composure. Something about this situation wasn't adding up. "Commander," Thompson said carefully, "perhaps we should meet in person to discuss this. Surely we can reach an understanding without resorting to threats." Dax's scales shifted to a deep red. "You would invite us to your surface, where your beasts roam freely. Do you take me for a fool, Captain?" "I assure you, Commander, you would be completely safe. We could meet at my own home, if that would make you feel more secure. No military installations, no weapons, just honest diplomacy." The alien commander stared at Thompson for a long moment, his golden eyes studying the human's face for any sign of deception. Finally, he spoke. "You are either very brave or very foolish, Captain. We will consider your offer, but know this: at the first sign of your beasts, we will not hesitate to strike." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the command center in silence. Thompson sat down heavily in his chair, his mind racing. What had the aliens seen that made them so afraid? And why did they keep mentioning beasts? Little did Commander Dax know, but at that very moment, Thompson's golden retriever Max was sleeping peacefully on his bed back home, dreaming of chasing squirrels and getting belly rubs. The fate of Earth might just rest on a big, friendly dog who had never met an alien he didn't want to befriend. In the dimly lit intelligence chamber of the Stellar Fist, 3 alien analysts huddled around a large holographic display. Their scales shifted nervously between shades of green and gray as they reviewed the latest data from Earth's information networks. "Commander Dax will be here any minute," whispered the lead analyst, Pip, his antennae twitching anxiously. "We need to make sense of these recordings." The screen displayed various scenes from Earth: a woman walking several large dogs in a park, a police officer working with a German shepherd, and a family playing fetch with their Labrador. To the aliens, each image seemed more terrifying than the last. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and Commander Dax strode in, his scales a deep shade of military blue. "Report," he demanded. "What have you found about these Earth beasts?" Pip stepped forward, trying to keep his scales from showing his fear. "Commander, our findings are disturbing. The humans don't just control these creatures, they live with them. They keep them in their homes, train them from birth, and have developed an entire system of vocal commands to control them." The hologram switched to a video of a dog training session. A human called out, "Sit," and the dog immediately obeyed. "Stay," the human commanded, and the beast remained perfectly still. Dax's eyes widened. "They can control them with just their voices." "Yes, Commander," another analyst chimed in. "And that's not all. Look at this." The display showed a military training exercise with police dogs. "They've weaponized the beasts. These creatures can chase down targets, leap over walls, and attack on command." The third analyst pulled up population statistics. "Our estimates suggest there are hundreds of millions of these beasts on Earth. Many humans have at least one in their dwelling, sometimes more. They even have specialized facilities for training them." Commander Dax paced the room, his scales shifting between shades of worried purple. "So when that Captain Thompson invited us to his home, it was likely a trap," Pip finished. "Our scans detected one of these creatures at his location. They call this particular breed a golden retriever. Don't let the pleasant-sounding name fool you, Commander. Look at this footage." The hologram showed Max, Thompson's dog, playing in the backyard. To human eyes, it was an adorable scene of a dog happily chasing a ball and bringing it back. But to the aliens, they saw a powerful beast practicing its hunting skills, demonstrating incredible speed and accuracy in tracking and capturing targets. "By the stars," Dax muttered. "They turned these hunters into loyal servants. No wonder they seem so calm during our threats. They've been living with these predators for generations." The analysts showed more footage: dogs swimming in pools, aquatic combat training, dogs playing tug-of-war, strength conditioning, and dogs doing tricks for treats, reward-based control mechanisms. "There's more, Commander," Pip said hesitantly. "We've intercepted something called social media. The humans share millions of images of their beasts daily. They're proud of them, even affectionate. Look at this." The screen filled with Instagram posts of puppies, dogs in costumes, and sleeping dogs cuddling with their owners. To the aliens, it looked like sophisticated propaganda showing how completely humans had dominated these fearsome creatures. Commander Dax sank into a chair, his scales now a pale blue of deep thought. "So this is why they've never developed energy weapons or force fields. They never needed to. They took the planet's apex predators and turned them into willing soldiers." He stood up suddenly, making the analysts jump. "Keep monitoring everything. I want to know every command they use, every training method. If we're going to meet with Thompson, we need to understand what we're up against." As the commander left the room, the analysts returned to their work. On the screen, a video played of a puppy falling asleep in its food bowl. The aliens watched in terror, interpreting it as evidence of the beast's incredible ability to remain vigilant, even while appearing vulnerable. Little did they know, back on Earth, Captain Thompson was scratching Max's belly, saying, "Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?" in exactly the kind of voice that would have sent the alien analysts diving under their desks in terror. The morning sun cast long shadows across Captain Thompson's office as he reviewed the latest satellite images of the alien fleet. The 12 massive ships hadn't moved in the past 24 hours, hanging in Earth's orbit like dark stars. His golden retriever Max lay at his feet, occasionally thumping his tail against the floor. The communication screen on his wall suddenly lit up, displaying Commander Dax's imposing figure. The alien scales were shifting between deep red and purple, a sign that Thompson was beginning to recognize as agitation. "Captain Thompson," Dax's voice boomed through the speakers, making Max's ears perk up. "We have studied your beast program extensively. We are impressed by your species' accomplishments." Thompson fought to keep a straight face, having finally figured out the source of the aliens' confusion. "Thank you, Commander. Would you like to discuss this in person? My offer to meet still stands." "Yes," Dax said, his scales rippling. "But we have conditions. We demand to see one of your beast training facilities. We want to understand how your species has achieved such control over these creatures." Thompson glanced down at Max, who had rolled onto his back, hoping for a belly rub. "Actually, Commander, I can do better than that. You can see firsthand how we live with our—" He paused carefully. "Trained beasts. My home would be perfect for this demonstration." On the screen, several alien officers in the background visibly flinched. Commander Dax's scales shifted to a pale yellow, which Thompson hadn't seen before. "You would willingly show us your beast control methods, your training techniques?" "Absolutely," Thompson replied, reaching down to scratch Max's belly. "Total transparency. No tricks, no threats, just a simple demonstration of our daily life with these creatures." The alien commander was silent for a long moment, his large golden eyes narrowing in thought. Finally, he spoke. "Very well, Captain. We accept. But be warned. At the first sign of aggression from your beast, we will respond with full force." "Understood," Thompson said calmly. "Shall we say tomorrow morning? 900 hours. Agreed. I will bring a small delegation. And Captain—" Dax leaned closer to the screen, his scales now a deep, threatening purple. "If this is a trap, your entire planet will suffer the consequences." The screen went dark, and Thompson let out a long breath. Max looked up at him with big brown eyes, tail wagging. "Well, boy," Thompson said, patting his dog's head, "looks like you're going to be an interstellar diplomat tomorrow." In orbit above Earth, Commander Dax was addressing his chosen delegation in the ship's main briefing room. 4 brave officers had volunteered for the mission, though their scales kept shifting to nervous shades of green. "Remember your training," Dax instructed, pacing before them. "Do not show fear. These beasts can sense fear. Do not make direct eye contact. The humans use this to establish dominance over them. And most importantly, do not run. Running triggers their hunting instincts." "Commander," one officer asked, "what if the beast approaches us?" "Stand your ground," Dax replied firmly. "Show it you are not prey. And keep your personal shields activated at all times." Another officer raised a trembling hand. "Sir, what about the vocal commands? Should we learn them?" "No," Dax said sharply. "Only humans can control these creatures. We've analyzed their command words. Sit, stay, good boy. But we haven't deciphered how they infuse them with controlling power." The briefing continued late into the night. The aliens studied footage of dogs, practiced their defensive stances, and memorized emergency evacuation procedures. They prepared for every possible scenario, except the one that would actually happen. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Captain Thompson was giving Max a bath, getting him ready for his big diplomatic debut. "You're going to help prevent an interstellar war tomorrow, buddy," he said, rubbing shampoo into Max's fur. "No pressure or anything." Max's response was to shake vigorously, spraying water everywhere and wagging his tail happily, completely unaware that an entire alien fleet considered him one of the most dangerous weapons on Earth. The morning sun shone brightly on Captain Thompson's front lawn as he waited for the alien delegation. His modest 2-story house had been thoroughly cleaned, though Max had already managed to scatter a few tennis balls around the living room again. Right at 900 hours, a shimmer appeared in the air above the driveway. A beam of light touched down, and 5 figures materialized. Commander Dax and his 4 brave officers, each wearing what appeared to be some kind of protective suit. "Welcome to Earth, Commander," Thompson said pleasantly, noting how the aliens were scanning the area nervously. "Please, come inside." "Where is your beast?" Dax demanded, his scales shifting between purple and green. "Our scanners detect one in the building." Thompson smiled reassuringly. "Max is inside. Don't worry, he's very friendly." "Friendly?" One of the officers whispered in horror. "They've managed to make them friendly." As Thompson led them to the front door, he could see their protective shields humming with energy. The aliens moved in a tight formation, jumping at every small noise. A bird chirped nearby, causing one officer to activate what looked like a weapon. "Shall we?" Thompson opened the door. The moment they stepped inside, they heard it. The sound that had haunted their intelligence reports. A woof, followed by the clicking of nails on hardwood floors. "It approaches," one officer squeaked, his scales turning pure white. Around the corner came Max, tail wagging furiously, with a bright yellow tennis ball in his mouth. He stopped a few feet from the aliens, head tilted curiously at these strange new visitors. Commander Dax's hand went to his weapon. "Captain Thompson," he said in a strained voice, "your beast is displaying its hunting trophy and has assumed an attack stance." Thompson couldn't help but chuckle. "Actually, Commander, that's just his favorite tennis ball. He wants to play." Play. The word seemed to confuse all 5 aliens at once. Their scales shifted through various colors of bewilderment. Max, being Max, decided to demonstrate. He dropped the tennis ball and nudged it toward the aliens with his nose, then backed up, tail still wagging, waiting for someone to throw it. What is it doing?" one of the officers asked, hiding behind his commander. "He wants you to throw the ball so he can bring it back to you," Thompson explained. "Here, let me show you." The aliens watched in fascination as Thompson picked up the ball. Max immediately went into his play stance, rear end in the air, tail wagging even faster. "Watch this," Thompson said, then threw the ball down the hallway. Max bounded after it joyfully, his nails clicking on the floor. "Such speed," Dax gasped. "Such agility." When Max returned with the ball, he did something that nearly caused a diplomatic incident. He walked straight up to Commander Dax and dropped the ball at his feet. "It's attacking," an officer screamed, but Dax held up his hand. "No, I don't think it is," the commander said slowly. His scales had shifted to a new color, one Thompson hadn't seen before, a soft, curious blue. "It wants me to throw the ball." "Exactly," Thompson smiled. "Go ahead, Commander. Just pick it up and throw it." With trembling fingers, Dax reached down. Max sat patiently, tail sweeping the floor. The alien commander picked up the tennis ball, studying it as if it were some advanced weapon. "Now throw it," Thompson encouraged. Dax drew back his arm and tossed the ball. It wasn't a great throw. It only went a few feet, but Max chased it as if it were the most exciting thing ever, then brought it right back to Dax. "Remarkable," Dax whispered, his scales now showing swirls of amazement. "And this is what you call play." "This is what we call friendship, Commander," Thompson replied. "Would you like to try again? Max can do this all day." As if to emphasize the point, Max gave a happy woof and nudged the ball closer to Dax's feet. The alien commander looked down at the dog, then at his officers, then back at the ball. "Perhaps," he said slowly, reaching for the ball again, "we should conduct a thorough investigation of this play concept. For diplomatic purposes, of course." 2 hours into what was supposed to be a quick inspection visit, Commander Dax sat cross-legged on Captain Thompson's living room floor. His protective suit had been deactivated, and his scales glowed a peaceful shade of blue. Max lay nearby, content after countless rounds of fetch, occasionally lifting his head to check if anyone was ready for another game. "Let me understand this correctly," Dax said, his voice filled with wonder. "You didn't conquer these creatures. You didn't use advanced technology to control them." Thompson, sitting comfortably in his armchair, shook his head. "No, Commander. Dogs and humans have been friends for thousands of years. We grew up together, in a way." The alien intelligence officer, Pip, who had been called down from the ship to witness this revelation, was frantically taking notes. "But the commands, the training, it's all based on trust and friendship," Thompson explained. "Dogs are pack animals. They naturally want to be part of a family. We didn't force them. They chose to live with us." Max's ears perked up at the word family, and he padded over to rest his head on Thompson's knee. The captain scratched behind Max's ears, making the dog's tail thump happily against the floor. "Fascinating," Dax murmured. "And all those training facilities we saw in our surveillance." "You mean dog parks?" Thompson laughed. "Those are just places where dogs can play together and exercise. Here, let me show you something." He pulled out his phone and opened a video sharing app. The aliens clustered around, their scales shifting colors with each new discovery, as Thompson showed them endless clips of puppies, dog rescue stories, and heartwarming moments between dogs and their owners. "Look at this one," Thompson said, playing the video of a service dog helping its owner. "Dogs can be trained to help people with disabilities, find lost humans, or even detect diseases. They're not weapons. They're helpers and friends." Commander Dax's scales turned a deep shade of embarrassment. "We interpreted everything wrong. Those videos of dogs sleeping in human beds. Not military rest stations," Thompson smiled. "The small outfits they wear. Just clothes to keep them warm or make them look cute. And the treats. Rewards for being good boys and girls," Thompson said, making Max's tail wag at the familiar phrase. One of the junior officers, who had been quiet until now, raised his hand. May I try petting him?" Thompson nodded encouragingly. "Of course. Max, come say hello." Max trotted over to the nervous alien, who slowly extended a four-fingered hand. The moment Max pushed his head against the alien's palm, the officer's scales lit up with joy. "It's so soft," he exclaimed. "And warm." Commander Dax watched this interaction with growing understanding. "Captain Thompson, I believe we owe your species an apology. We assumed you had created some kind of biological weapon program, when in reality, we just made friends with some wonderful animals who decided to share their lives with us," Thompson finished. Max, sensing the serious mood, decided it was time for more play. He trotted over to his toy box and returned with a rope toy, dropping it in front of Dax. "What does this mean?" Dax asked, picking up the rope. "He wants to play tug-of-war," Thompson explained. "Just hold one end, but be warned, he's pretty strong." For the first time since arriving on Earth, Commander Dax laughed, a strange, melodic sound that made his scales ripple with gold. "To think we were terrified of this. Our military intelligence will never live this down." As Dax engaged in a friendly tug-of-war with Max, Thompson smiled, watching the last barriers of fear and misunderstanding melt away. Sometimes, he thought, the best diplomacy didn't need complex negotiations or lengthy treaties. Sometimes, all it needed was a friendly dog with a tennis ball and a willing heart. News travels fast in space. Within days of Commander Dax's visit to Earth, the story of the Great Peace Misunderstanding had spread through the entire alien fleet. The ship's common areas were filled with crews watching Earth dog videos, their scales changing colors in delight at each new discovery. In the main conference room of the United Defense Force headquarters, Captain Thompson sat across from Commander Dax, finalizing their first official peace treaty. Max lay under the table, occasionally accepting treats from both human and alien delegates. "So," Thompson said, trying to hide his amusement, "shall we discuss the Beast Incident section of the treaty?" Dax's scales flickered with embarrassment, but he managed to laugh. Yes, I suppose we should document our rather significant error in judgment. Though I must admit, it's already becoming quite the story back home. One of the alien communication officers burst into the room, his scales bright with excitement. Commander, the first transmission from the Imperial capital just arrived. They've seen the dog videos we sent. And, Dax asked nervously, the Imperial Council wants dogs. They're requesting immediate diplomatic relations with Earth, specifically mentioning something called puppy adoption programs. Thompson couldn't help but chuckle. Well, Commander, it seems dogs are about to become your species' best friends too. Indeed, Dax replied, reaching down to scratch Max behind the ears, a skill he'd perfected over the past few days. But we need to do this properly. Our people need to understand these creatures as the humans do. Over the next few hours, they drafted the first ever interstellar pet adoption agreement. The aliens would need to take classes on dog care, understand Earth's animal welfare laws, and prove they could provide loving homes. In return, Earth would help establish proper veterinary care and dog parks on alien worlds. There's just one more thing, Thompson said, pulling out a tablet. I think you'll want to see this. He showed Dax a video from earlier that day. One of the alien officers who had been part of the first delegation was sitting in a park, surrounded by curious dogs from a local shelter. The officer's scales were glowing with joy as the dogs showered him with affection. That's Officer Pip, Dax said warmly. He's submitted a formal request to become our first certified dog handler. Says it's vital for future diplomatic relations, of course. Of course, Thompson grinned. Purely diplomatic reasons. As if on cue, Max emerged from under the table and placed his head on Dax's lap, giving him the irresistible puppy eyes look that humans had never been able to resist. You know, Dax said thoughtfully, his scales shifting to a warm, gentle blue. Perhaps I should lead by example. As fleet commander, it would be diplomatically appropriate for me to understand these creatures firsthand. Thompson smiled. As it happens, Max's sister just had puppies. Would you like to meet them? The change in Dax's scales was immediate, swirling patterns of excitement and joy that the human had never seen before. For diplomatic purposes, Dax said quickly, trying to maintain his commander's dignity. It would be helpful for interspecies relations. Later that afternoon, the mighty Commander Dax, terror of 12 star systems, sat on the floor of a local breeder's house, completely surrounded by golden retriever puppies. His scales had settled into a color that Thompson hadn't seen before, a soft, glowing pink that seemed to reflect pure happiness. They're all diplomatic experts, Thompson said, watching one puppy attempt to climb up Dax's uniform. Natural ambassadors of Earth. Indeed, Dax replied softly, cradling a sleeping puppy. Though I must ask, why do they smell like this? This puppy smell. That's just how puppies smell. It's strangely appealing, Dax admitted, his scales rippling with contentment. I suppose I should study it more closely. For the official report, of course. Of course, Thompson agreed, watching as the alien commander completely failed to maintain any pretense of military dignity in the face of puppy kisses. Some things, it seemed, were truly universal. The park near the newly established Interstellar Embassy was unusually busy for a Saturday morning. Humans and aliens mingled freely, but the real stars of the gathering were the dogs. Dozens of them, all shapes and sizes, playing together while their owners, both human and alien, chatted nearby. Commander Dax sat on a bench beside Captain Thompson, both watching their dogs chase each other across the grass. Max, now a certified therapy dog for alien visitors, was showing Luna, Dax's golden retriever puppy, now 6 months old, how to properly fetch a frisbee. I still can't believe how much has changed, Dax said, his scales glowing with contentment as Luna bounded back with the frisbee, accidentally tripping over her own paws in excitement. 6 months ago, we thought these creatures were weapons of war. Thompson smiled, tossing a tennis ball for Max. And now half your fleet has adopted dogs. 342 adoptions, to be exact. Dax replied proudly. His scales shifted to a warm pink as Luna jumped into his lap, covering his uniform in mud and dog hair. The imperial capital has approved construction of 5,000 dog parks across our worlds. Nearby, Officer Pip was running a puppy training class, something that would have been unthinkable half a year ago. A group of alien officers sat cross-legged on the grass, each with a puppy, carefully practicing basic commands. Their scales changed colors with delight every time their puppies successfully followed an instruction. "Sit," one officer said carefully, holding a treat. His beagle puppy sat immediately, tail wagging. The officer's scales lit up with joy. "Did you see that? She did it. She's so intelligent." Thompson chuckled. "Your language specialists did a great job creating a cross-species guide to dog commands." "Yes, though some concepts were challenging to translate," Dax admitted. "We still haven't found a word in our language that fully captures what good boy means. The emotional context is quite complex." As if on cue, Luna successfully caught the frisbee in midair. "Good girl," Dax called out, his pronunciation perfect after months of practice. Luna's tail wagged faster as she brought the frisbee back to him. A small crowd had gathered near the park's entrance, where the newest addition to the embassy was being unveiled, a statue of Max, cast in bronze, with inscriptions in both human and alien languages, in honor of the dog who prevented an interstellar war with a tennis ball. The Imperial Council wants to make Max's birthday a galactic holiday, Dax mentioned casually, throwing the frisbee again. Something about celebrating the power of friendship and understanding. "Speaking of understanding," Thompson said, "how did your military intelligence division explain their mistake in those initial reports?" Dax's scales flickered with amusement. "They've revised their entire contact protocol. First contact teams are now required to watch at least 48 hours of puppy videos before making any threat assessments. They watched as a group of alien children, part of the first family units allowed to visit Earth, cautiously approached a gentle Saint Bernard. Their scales changed to rainbow colors of delight when the big dog let them pet him. "You know what the best part is," Dax said softly, watching Luna play with her new friends. "We came here looking for worlds to conquer, and instead, we found something much better. We found family." Max, hearing the emotion in Dax's voice, trotted over and put his head on the alien commander's knee. Luna, not wanting to be left out, squeezed in next to her father's legs, creating a perfect picture of interstellar harmony. "By the way," Thompson said with a grin, "have you told the Imperial Council about cats yet?" Dax's scales turned a pale, nervous green. "One Earth pet at a time, Captain. One Earth pet at a time." As the sun set over the park, dogs and their owners, human and alien alike, began heading home. The great invasion fleet that had once threatened Earth now served as an interstellar pet transport service, carrying dogs to loving homes across the galaxy. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other alien civilizations were about to learn a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the power of a wagging tail and a friendly bark.